Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, and finally we have Randy on here again. And it's been a while since we had this the two of us doing an episode. But
That's right.
there's a couple of things going on that we wanted to announce first, and then our centerpiece for the episode today will is gonna be top five of our musical surprises from last year. We thought instead of doing the usual top 10 favorite albums of the year, we would like to shine a light on a couple of more maybe overlooked gems that were really surprising to us because we didn't expect them. So that's our take of a kind of 2020 wrap up here at the podcast. And then, as a third section today, we will talk a little bit about our expectations, what we are expecting, which releases we are expecting in the coming year, 2021. Randy, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back on air. What's new?
Hey Dario, yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, the last time was for the end of the year episode, the episode 100 in December,
Yeah.
and before that, I think we were together for the Pain of Salvation episode, and then before that, I think we were also we've been a few times together on a sort of Skype Zoom setup, which we are again now because unfortunately we're back in another deeper lockdown here in Bavaria in Germany in
Yes.
general. But what's new? Let's talk about new stuff. It's a new year. You always take some time at the end of last year to process what happened, and then you want to start fresh. And Dario and I have been kicking around a lot of new ideas. First of all, Friday Top 5 is coming back tomorrow, so be sure and tune into that. We're going to try to keep that up every week so that this is a format where in under 5 minutes, you get our top 5 picks from each week for albums and EPs that come out that week. Since tomorrow is the first episode of that series for the year, we also are catching up on a few sporadic releases that came out since like the 1st of January or even the last day of 2020.
Yes. And actually, we decided, or you decided, that you're gonna roll back the video element of that show. So you're gonna find it on our podcast platforms everywhere. Uh, so,
Right. So
so
right here at this channel, wherever you listen to this show, it should pop up in your feed. It'll have a different thumbnail because Van created a different thumbnail for this show, but it will be in this feed. So yeah, check it out right here. We figure that's the best place for it so that we have it, at the end of your week, just a little something that you can grab onto and check out new records without having to dig too deeply. On the other hand, if you want to dig deeper, I think Dario has the other tool for you.
yes, we kind of at one point last year we split it the what's hot from the releases of the week, and the releases of the week obviously is also dropping on Fridays, and yeah, we will do a kind of a new format, which is that we will have a weekly rotating Spotify playlist. So you can follow this playlist on Spotify, and we will update it every Friday with the new releases that come out on that specific particular Friday. But we will also keep a kind of archive history backlog. So once a new week is there, we're gonna do put the old week into an archive playlist, so you can always go back and check the releases from last week as well.
Or I guess you'll keep for each week, like week 52, week 49,
Yeah,
this kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, and that's for the releases of the week. That is Spotify centered. The playlist,
Where
but we will also have an article up on our website where we will link the albums that are not on Spotify. We will link to the Bandcamp pages there, which is a cool thing because not all albums land on Spotify from small releases that are releasing independently. And of course, on Bandcamp, you can always support the bands more directly.
And that's at theprogspace.com, correct?
Yes. And
the Spotify playlist can be found where?
on Spotify, you can find our Spotify profile, The Prog Space, one word, no space in between.
The Prog Space, no space.
Yes. And a What's Hot playlist will also be a weekly rotating playlist now, starting next Sunday. So you also will have only one playlist that you need to follow to keep up to date with the newest single releases in the scene. And we also took away the video element from that we put up on our website in the last year, which was a lot of work. We're gonna keep the video element for the best of monthly playlist. So the best of the month will be a YouTube playlist then. Maybe it's a little bit confusing at first, but I think once we get in the, in the routine, it should get clearer which is which and where you can find what. Of course, follow us on all our socials. We're gonna put up posts for every new playlist refill, so to speak, every Friday, Sundays, and at the end of the month, or at the beginning of the next month.
I would just say that to add to that, taking away the video element for the Friday Top 5 is in part because we want to develop some more podcasts, and the video element of the Friday Top 5 was maybe taking away some time from being able to develop other podcasts because we're limited. We're only two guys here trying to get the audio recorded and video and stuff like that. So, and it's maybe a little sneak peek and maybe a bit too early, but I have been working on an idea to do a bass-centric prog podcast in 2021. So as those of you that listen regularly or know me, I'm a bass player since years, and my former band, I played in a band called Tanner Till, and most recently, and This Is Not an Elephant. And since 2020 was such a rough year for bands playing live, This Is Not an Elephant had to cancel 3 tours, and it just led me to having more time to start writing a solo project.
Yay!
And this and this made me think a lot about during this process of like writing music for this sort of solo bass project, I was like listening to my favorite bass players in the prog scene, and I came to the idea, wouldn't it be cool to, just as a fan, to interview them and talk to them, not necessarily about a new release, but maybe also about new release, but also like what kind of gear they use, and get nerdy about bass stuff, because certainly guitar players get a lot of attention in the prog world. And my solo album is actually a little bit the like inspired by a lot of these great modern prog guitar players like C2A and Intervals and Plini and stuff. I thought, why not do something more bass, written more from the bass guitar? And so these things all combined. Right now, I'm working on the idea to start a prog-centric bass podcast, which I think we would host on a separate channel, but it would still be part of this universe. But for those,
we're creating our own universe, right?
The Progcast universe.
Yes, the Marvel Haken Progcast universe.
So yeah, stay tuned for more information about all of that.
Yeah, I think that was it with the housekeeping for now. As you probably noticed already, we kept on going with 2 episodes now that we picked it up again, with 2 regular episodes each week, because we already can see that there's going to be a lot of very interesting releases coming out in the next weeks and months that are confirmed already. And we have very cool guests lined up already, lining up, queuing up to be part
Gearing
of
up.
this. All right.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing we can just to reflect for a moment on the journey of the podcast. Originally when we started doing the interviews with artists, Dario was mostly going to the venues to do interviews
or to the festivals even.
Or to the festivals, and then you would get like 30 interviews.
It was 19 at Euroblast.
Okay, 19. But since we had to start doing things via Skype during the first lockdown last March or April, that's when I think we decided to start bringing in guests via Skype and stuff. And that totally changed the format of the show. And it seems like you guys like it, because certainly the engagement of the show is a lot higher now. And so,
yeah. And it's a lot of fun to dive into the worlds of these interesting artists. So yeah, it's awesome, and I'm super happy and grateful that we can do this, and that artists, bands, and PR agencies are putting their trust in us and giving their time to us. So
absolutely,
super excited for amazing guests in the next weeks. Maybe we'll get back to that later, but I think now it's high time already that we started with a big topic of the show of today's episode, right?
Yeah.
And I already teased it a little bit at the beginning. So yeah, even though we have the amazing opportunity to interview superstars of prog, that kind of happened very quickly last fall, that we suddenly got the chance to interview great big names in the scene. But still, we really love to also highlight smaller releases from up and coming bands that might get overlooked between all the Hakens, Caligulas, Horses, Catatonias, the Oceans, and Devin Townsend's.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we thought we'd pick 5 of our favorites musical surprises from last year, which we didn't expect, which for whatever reason. So yeah, what's your first pick, Randy? I'm super curious now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a few of mine are definitely not even new artists. It's just like something that wasn't on my periphery, no pun intended. But the first one actually ties into this idea of the prog bass show and the solo bass album, and that's my discovery of Antoine Fafard. And he released Chemical Reactions, which, as he describes it, is a collaboration between him and Gavin Harrison on drums. Antoine Fafard is a Canadian-based bassist. Canadian-based bassist.
I think he's living in the UK now, but he's Canadian.
Okay,
he's
so he's
coming from Canada originally.
Okay. And he makes a lot of I would say kind of jazz fusion-y records typically. So maybe this is why it wasn't on my radar, because
yeah, you're not the jazz guy.
It's funny. I know I'm not the jazz guy, and I said it a million times on this show, but the irony is the more and more I listen to it, the more and more that's all I listen to. So I have been getting into a lot more jazz lately. But this particular record, while it's not so much, it still has this sort of jazz fusion sound to it. He replaces all the instruments apart from bass and drums with either a string quartet or an orchestra. So for 2 of the tracks, it's like a full orchestra from the Czech Republic, and he got in touch with a conductor company in Vienna, and they worked together and created the orchestral arrangements and quartet arrangements for the record. And so the first I would say the first 80% of the record is like a string quartet playing together with Antoine and Gavin. And then the last two tracks are like a really big epic orchestral performance with bass and drums. And it's so unique and cool. And yeah, it made me, of course, go back and get all the rest of his records, which are also amazing. He always works with the most amazing drummers, for one. But this one is really unique because, yeah, he took his style and brought it to an orchestra. And in fact, he's released some records since he kind of recorded the basis of that album, which was interesting to learn that it took like, I think 4 years to make.
Yeah, if you want to know a little bit more about this album, you can check back our episode 98, where I had the immense pleasure and honor to talk to the amazing Gavin Harrison, the drummer, who was also very enthusiastic about this project because it was a challenge for him as a drummer, as an artistic drummer, to a new outlet, a new style that he hadn't explored before.
And also they recorded the orchestral parts. At least for the large orchestral piece, they recorded it before Gavin did drums or Antoine did bass. Yeah. So he kind of, he got the orchestral stems and he had to write drums to that, which is incredible. And what's really cool is Antoine releases, like you can buy the orchestral and bass tracks by themselves as the record, and then the drums have been removed, right? So you can have like the drumless recordings of the album, and then as a drummer you can like get in and lay your own grooves now.
That's crazy.
Like, who's going to take up the cudgel and take that challenge? So that was an inspiration. That was an inspiration for me. Not, it was a great record, but also inspiration to me as a player. So that was my first pick. What about you? What do you got on your first one?
Absolutely great pick. I loved the album. I have to say that I guess I could also include it in a little bit more extended list of my most unexpected musical surprises of 2020. Definitely. I had like 5. I had settled for 5 because at one point in the fall last year, I made a little list already with my favorite surprises, and then I think last night or even this morning, I looked at this list and I was like, there's one very, very important surprise missing, and that was from an album that was released in August, but I only discovered in the fall by recommendation from Roy Nestolt from Flower Kings and Fates Warning, Flower Kings and Transatlantic. So many prog band names in my head. I have talked about this album a lot already, but it's just so good, so I had to include it. And it is that Joe Payne's By Name by Nature. It might be a little bit prog, on the fringes of prog towards pop music, but it's just, there's just so much amazing musical substance, and his vocal performance is off the charts.
Yeah,
it is his debut solo album that he released under the moniker That Joe Payne, and it's a very, very personal record. If you dive into the lyrics about his journey as a musician, he used to sing for the I would say ancient UK prog rock legends of the Enid, and I saw him quite a few years ago singing for the Enid, and the music didn't do much for me, but his performance was outstanding. And I remember when he announced his departure from the Enid, but I didn't know that he had this solo album out. And when I checked it out, I was floored. I was really my jaw was on the floor by what he has created there, because it's like there's a couple of different tracks, starting with a little intro that is very delicate and calm, with beautiful guest guitar work by Nikitas Kisonas from the Methexis project, and also a collaborator, Verbal Delirium, from Greece. And Joe's vocal performance on that little intro called "The Thing About Me" is his falsetto is just it brings tears to my eyes before he has even sung one word. It is like that, and then the album is quite diverse, as there's a couple of tracks that are slower, like 4 tracks that are slower in my head. What is the world coming to? I need to change, and then at the end of the tunnel. But the title track, By Name By Nature, Nice Boy, and Love Not the Same are a little bit more upbeat and energetic. And I have to say, Love Not the Same is a pop track par excellence. It's like it's up there with anything Alicia Keys has ever written, and or Michael Bublé or whatever.
Wow.
It is a mystery to me how Joe is not like a superstar yet.
Yes.
I cannot say that much more, but it's an amazing album. It's if you say, oh, this is pop music, he says even in the lyrics, wait, I want to dance in 7/8. So he's got his prog credibility there, even though he's not really feeling as part of the scene. But definitely an album for you if you do enjoy pop music, but if you also love the proggy influences there. And yeah,
and a lovely guy too. He was
also part of our
joined us
episode
in our 100th episode, and brought a lot of interesting insights for artists during the Corona era and how he's been dealing with it and stuff. And
he's got the Patreon, so if you love his voice and his artistry, support him on Patreon. Amazing artist, amazing singer. He's as far as I'm concerned, he's the new Freddie Mercury.
Wow. Okay. Awesome.
Your next pick.
Yeah. So for my next pick, this may not be like. I think this got a bit of buzz this year, but it's the album from White Walls, Grandeur. We talked about it a lot on the show. It was definitely in our Friday top 5, and I heard a lot of buzz going on about it. It's a Romanian band, and it's probably on my list, one of the sort of modern prog artists. So definitely something that fans of Leprous, The Ocean, Opeth, Carnival, based on on how they write themselves up on Bandcamp, would definitely appeal to them. I even found it maybe more melodic than some of those bands. It's like classic prog metal melodic. So it's not overbearingly new and modern. So it has like a little bit of old and a little bit of new in there.
Yeah.
They released a lot of cool videos too. So I think there was like a big push. I really liked this album. I think you got to hear it a lot as well.
Yeah, I listened to it a lot as well, and the cool surprise for me there was, I was expecting the album, and I was also waiting for it, because it's been a long time, a couple of years, since they released their last single, which was Death Follows Me, which is still my favorite White Walls song. It's just so epic, but the album is excellent. And after the 2 singles, the when I've listened to the album first, there's a little also intro song of sorts
Mm-hmm.
before then the second single's Eye for an Eye starts.
False
Um,
beliefs.
False beliefs, and I love what the vocalist does there with his melody, and then
Yeah.
the segue into Eye for an Eye. Amazing video, amazing animated video for Eye for an Eye, and for the first, as you said, for the first single Starfish Crown, they have a cool live action video.
Yeah.
Definitely a very, very cool record, which I enjoyed immensely as well.
Yeah, cool. What's your next one?
My next one is a new project from, especially one guy is involved there who is quite well known in the scene, most precisely the technical death metal scene. But this album is not technical death metal. It is the debut album from a project called Gargoyle, without an E at the end. The self-titled debut album was released on Season of Mist. And I also had the pleasure to talk to the guitarist Dave Davidson, who also plays with Revocation, obviously, on episode 81. And this really, really surprised me and took me off guard because it was marketed as prog grunge. And as you might know, I'm not the biggest grunge fan. But this
you have this, I think you have the same knee-jerk reaction like I do to like jazz prog that you do for grunge prog.
Yeah, and also the more I listened to it, the more I got addicted to it. So there's also an intro track for this album here. I see a pattern emerging.
I think that's kind of like a staple of great prog albums though, right? An intro track, it's like I even think of like back to the Wall, or in turn inspired the intro for
this intro in particular, Truth of a Tyrant, is an a cappella
right
a composition, and and again the segue into the first off-kilter riff of Plastic Nothing is just it brings a smile to my face when I just think of this funny, crazy off-kilter riff, and the vocal harmonies are also really, really cool. It's just a lot of fun. There's, for me, maybe what appeals to me so much is not so much the grunge part, of course, but more the Voivod, and a little bit more avant-garde influences. And I think the song Ambivalent One, I also had the kind of avant-garde psychedelic version of Haken feel for some of the vocal harmonies. Less polished modern prog metal, quite raw and dirty, which is very cool for a change.
I think you as a singer, I can tell that you also really connect to vocals. I think more than I do. Like, not that I don't like vocals, but I think that's an element that often really sells you on albums and stuff. I mean, now that you've listed two that had a strong vocal performance, that's what makes me think that.
Yeah, the vocal performance in Gargoyle is not so much technically amazing, but there's the vocal harmonies what makes it makes the overall performance stand out. Because of the layered harmonies, which are really cool and creative, and also in the guitar work from Dave Davidson.
And I think these vocal harmonies are maybe the thing that gets the sort of grunge label, right? Because it's kind of a throwback to like Alice in Chains vocal harmonies, which
to the better grunge bands.
Yeah, I mean that's my favorite grunge band. Alice in Chains for sure.
What's your next pick?
My next pick, okay, let's go to Greece, to a band called Kalesis. I think I pronounced that correctly. Kalesis.
Calluses?
Callisis. I say Kalesis because that's the thing that's most sounds like a Greek mythology name.
Khaleesi is not a Greek
Khaleesi's.
mythology, though.
Khaleesi's. Right.
Khaleesi.
So, yeah, the album is Impulse to Soar. I think this is another album that also got a lot of buzz. I think this got a lot of buzz broadly, not just in the prog world, maybe even more so in the more metal world, like readers of like Decibel magazine or Revolver in the US probably heard a lot about this record too, because it's definitely proggy, and it maybe also has this sort of prog grunge element to it. Certainly fans of like Baroness, Mastodon, Hyborian, and even Intronaut, I think would appreciate the record.
Sludgy goodness.
Yeah, it's sludgy, but also has the sort of technical sludge. It's not just slow and riffy sludge, but tends to have more of a thinking man's sludge. I like this. I like this record a lot, and the album cover is one of my favorites of the year. Actually, this floral,
right. Good
floral.
Good call. Yeah, it's a beautiful album cover that I also. I will have a look at that one again, and I will have a listen again, even though I'm not the biggest sludge fan. I don't need my music to be sludgy. But there's cool stuff. Also,
I think this still is because of where I come from. Like I somehow always gravitated to the sludgy stuff, being from the southeast of the U.S.
Yeah,
but they're from the southeast of Europe, I guess, with Greece. So that fits. What's your next one? We're up to number 3 for you, right?
Yeah. Number 3 would be a German band. And I think those guys deserve a lot more attention. They're from Berlin, and they are called Chaos Bay, and they released their second album, I believe, Asylum, in September. And it's modern prog metal. You could I could definitely see them on a tour with the likes of Exist Immortal, Chaos Divine, or Archetype. So melodic, hooky vocals, but also the occasional growl and heavy riffing. And this is a concept album about the refugee crisis here in Europe, from that was particularly in the media in 2015, I believe, and it hits home very, very hard with some of the lyrics and with the lyrical content. And at first, when I heard the first tracks, I was a little bit, I was afraid that it was those hooky hooks would be too kind of poppy for like in contrast. But then I had the same feeling with Exist Immortal first, and then I absolutely fell in love. So kind of similar thing happened here, and I didn't know them before 2020, even though they've been around a little bit longer, and their debut album Vasilisa was from 2015 actually. I know that they toured and played a couple of shows with one of my favorite surprises from 2019, which was Soul Splitter. So that's how I first heard of them. And it's just excellent modern prog metal with great hooks and deep lyrical content. And I pulled up here some lyrics from the epilogue track, which reads, "Our houses are nice and our gardens clean. There's still some champagne in the limousine. Our economy is healthy and works too well as long as the weapons and drugs we sell." only fly one way across the deep water. And I cannot help. Every time I listen to it, it brings tears to my eyes because it's so poignant and so heavy to think what's going on, and it's if you're an empathic person, you will know what they mean, and it will make you think. Yeah. Of course, it's a political topic. It's a heated topic, and I don't know what I can do about it. I don't know what we can do about it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but still,
I mean, I guess their way of dealing with it was, to create music, and to put their thoughts into it.
for all of these reasons, because it's a absolute top quality record, and it deals with these very timely topics. They
Yeah, I mean,
deserve a lot
this
of
makes me think
more
of another
attention.
German release this year with the Hirsch Effect.
Yeah, true. That was not a
2020,
surprise because we knew it was coming.
yeah, which was really based on Greta Thunberg and the Fridays for Future demos. And I mean, I see it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense with like the Hirsch Effect. They come more from this post-hardcore world, which I feel like political records are not that common, in the prog scene, even though it's the progressive scene.
Yeah.
People don't. I think maybe in the past it was always maybe a little bit fantasy or dystopia or other themes that were like storytelling, but overtly modern times, topics I think are kind of rare, and so yeah, when you have some that come out, I mean, others I think deal with it, but maybe in more of a lyrical way where you don't fully, it's not overtly conceptual. So and when one comes along that touches you, I mean, that's important. I mean, that's a way of maybe processing what they're talking about.
Yeah, what's going on in the world.
Absolutely.
And not only in the fantasy world.
Yeah, exactly. It can't all be swords and sorcery,
and unicorns. What's your next pick, Randy?
Definitely not a unicorn power metal album, but yeah, I will take for my next pick. Actually, for my last two picks, we're going to Australia. And my next pick is a band that has been around forever, and I just never listened to them. But that's the latest from Terra Maze. I Wonder is the name of the album. And yeah, this kind of came out of the blue for me. A lot of my picks, a lot of my surprises are because you interviewed somebody from the band, or, I heard about it through you. So,
I suggested it as pick for the Friday Top 5.
Exactly. Yeah. And Terra Maze was one that was like completely off my radar. But, once again, Australia, for some reason, has like this pool of great prog albums. I mean, I think, they definitely fit in line with like Chaos Divine. Certainly, I think like this is a compatible sound to Chaos Divine, but to me, it's maybe not as modern, and even as maybe a throwback to early 2000, late 90s.
They have a little bit more of the classic prog metal sound about them. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what I liked about it, because I'm always looking for modern sounds and maybe sludgy things. But when I first got into prog metal, it was through like Dream Theater's Awake, Queensryche, and then Shadow Gallery and stuff in the late 90s, and then bands like trying to think of the band that I actually. There's a band from that era that Terra Maze kind of reminded me of, and I can't think of them at the moment.
Magnitude 9?
Magnitude 9. Thank you.
Yes.
Nailed it. And I remember really enjoying this kind of music at this particular time, and then this kind of faded out, and then we started getting different flavors. I think djent sounds started coming into prog, so the sounds of the like late 90s, early 2000s prog metal, melodic prog metal kind of changed and got heavier. And so when I heard the Teramaze album, it kind of transported me back to that time. And although it's modern sounding and, the production is great and stuff, it still kind of like tickled that old memory. And so I really found myself listening to this record a lot. Sorry?
A little bit of nostalgia going on.
Yeah, but
cool.
Yeah, definitely not meant in any way like that it sounds dated. I think, it's natural when with, of course, progressive music, when things change, the industry shifts in a certain direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I experienced that too when I was starting to write my solo thing, that like bass sound has gone in a particular direction, particularly in prog music. And, I think things start to get a little one-dimensional. You start to have like the same kind of bass sound on every record. And I think this is like a natural thing, but so it was nice to hear Teramaze and hear them kind of referencing stuff from the past, but giving it like a modern flair. So yeah.
Cool pick.
That's my fourth pick.
My fourth pick would be from the UK. Martin Gresh solo album Hush Mortal Core. And this was a particularly like left field release for me. I mean, I was familiar with the name obviously because Martin was a co-songwriter and also sang some more vocals on the Tesseract song Hexes on Polaris. And that song in particular always stood out for me, also especially with the vocals and vocal harmonies that he built with Daniel Tompkins together. And yeah, so I was super happy to see that there's gonna be a solo album from him that I didn't know before. It just kind of dropped, and then I listened to it, and it is maybe the most unusual albums on my list, because it's kind of psychedelic and weird at times, and it takes like 1.5 songs, so 10 minutes, where like the metal comes in first. And it is, what I like about it is that it's a lot more organic and raw than, the super polished, almost sterile Tesseract sound. Even though a couple of the Tesseract guys, I think all of the instrumentalists, maybe except for what's his name? The tall guitarist. Yeah, that one, who is also a cool PR agent. I think he's not on there, but the other three are guesting on a couple of tracks. And so at times there is similarities to the huge riffs that you would also get with Tesseract, but still with a more organic approach in sound. And this is like, it culminates in my absolute favorite song, the penultimate Ecstasy Astral Melancholia. It's just it's, yeah, even though there might be some of the more mellow parts that don't grab me as much, there's the parts that are the peaks are not few and far. There are a lot of peaks that are really engaging and unique. A really unique album, and yeah, I don't know any band that would make a sound like this, or like combine these sounds, like take these Tesseract kind of riffs into this I don't know, kind of psychedelic pop or whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it. So definitely the most weird and left field record on my list, but an amazing and unusual thing that definitely deserves a lot of more attention as well, I think.
James Monteith.
Thank you, James. Yeah, Martin has also a Patreon, so if you like his artistic work, definitely go to Patreon and check out Martin's perks and stuff and support him.
Yeah, that album flew by me because you just mentioned it now, and I have a feeling you mentioned it to me before, but I don't think I ever listened to it at all. So time to go back.
Yeah, I have a hunch what your last pick might be.
Oh,
Well, you already said that your last two picks will come from down under, so Case Divine.
okay. Let's see if you know it. My final pick is Glass Ocean.
Oh, yeah, I thought it that was a surprise. No, but maybe I thought that you wouldn't know, but of course you know KS Divine from the last years. You even played with them, so
Yeah, and also I think they're one of the bigger names, I would say. And so
yeah,
while that's definitely one of my favorite albums for my top 5 surprises, Chaos Divine, that was like an anticipated album for me for 2020. So for sure. But yeah, so Glass Ocean also is from Sydney,
the
Australia.
remnants of losing yourself in someone else, right?
That's right, you got it. And yeah, this came out of nowhere for me as well. So I don't know if we have any connections to them through other bands, but this is a really unique blend of again, I feel like we're overusing the term, but modern progressive metal sounds. But the vocal performance is very, very modern, commercial, poppy,
Yeah,
EDM-ish
it
sometimes.
it took me completely off guard as well, and I at first I didn't know if I would like it,
Same for me.
but then I absolutely fell in love with it. I mean,
Yeah.
Tobias Atkins, who was also a guest here on this show on episode 75, you can hear a little bit more about the band and the album. It yeah,
This is what
I never
discovered them.
thought I would dig that kind of R&B prog that much, but it's so
R&B prog,
good.
that's it.
I
Yeah,
think
this is it.
you came up with the term.
Did I come up with but yeah, it's very fitting. Yeah, R&B prog. But yeah, I mean, I was the same. I heard it the first time and was like, "Ooh, I don't know about this," but then it was like, "Yeah, I know about this."
Super sleek vocal lines, but a lot of great guitar textures going on and all that stuff.
Totally, you know. And while it's not the most showy record, it kind of reminds me of that skill level that you hear with, you know, like the guys from Leprous or Tesseract and stuff like that, where it's not super showy, but what's going on, you know, in the writing process, in the layers and stuff is what makes it so unique.
In the arrangement and not in the flashy solos or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, this was a fun surprise for me for sure. And once again, Australia, what is it? What's going on down there? Australia and Greece.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Greece is gonna be maybe the hotspot for this year. We already had one great release coming from there, and I'm expecting. Oh, that brings. I just remembered the name for my list. We're gonna get to that shortly. I just have one more pick. And of course I had to kick one of my original picks because I remembered that in the second half of the year, suddenly that Joe Payne popped up, and I was binging this album like crazy. So I kicked the a little bit more well known and more established Gösta Berling saga for my. I had to choose between two Swedish bands, and their album Concrete Musik was kind of really weird but really cool mix of Kraftwerk meets Morricone in a prog rock environment. But yeah, my final pick would be Vulcan's Technatura.
Yeah.
Just such a great prog rock release. Heavy prog rock, half English, half Swedish. So much fun, that record. And one of my favorite emotional vocal moments in the song Blinding Ornaments, when he sings, "What are you, a tool with hands?" Yeah, it was such a cool surprise to have this. Yeah, it's very earthy and heavy prog rock.
Yeah.
Not so much like if you think of Swedish prog rock of the second or third generation, let's say. So not thinking about the Flower Kings or anything, but more thinking about Beardfish. It's a lot less keyboard heavy than Beardfish. There's a lot of cool keyboards going on, but it's a lot heavier overall, the sound. And more.
They were also featured on the podcast.
Yes, I talked to drummer Johan Norbeck in episode 65, and actually in episode 66 I talked to the drummer from Gösta Berling saga. So yeah, but my fifth pick is Vulcan, and of course we will compile all these picks into a Spotify playlist that I will link for you everywhere, so you can check these out if you have missed those 10 great releases. Super cool surprises. I enjoyed your picks a lot.
Me too. I mean, me too of your picks.
And we are probably around 1 hour into this episode, and I mean we're aware that our more free-form talk and nerding about releases will always drag a little bit longer, as the kind of proven, concise format with the interviews. Well, we hope you dig it nevertheless. And now before...
Yeah, we started this show with like nerding out about prog music. That was kind of how it started, with Dario and I meeting at shows and talking about stuff, and then we developed the original series was more of this kind of stuff, but certainly people love to hear their favorite artists talking. So but for once in a while, I hope that you guys will indulge us in our musings.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, I have a huge list already for expectations, as always. Why don't you drop yours first?
Yeah, I just have a few. I mean, we sort of did this already in the 100th episode, and at that time, you know, the artist I mentioned was, of course, Ross's solo album. I'm very much looking forward to Ross Jennings from Haken's solo record. And I also mentioned Between the Buried and Me. So I mean, that's Between the Buried and Me is one of my favorite bands. So I'm very, very much looking forward to what they release. Dune just announced a new record, which we knew was going to come. They released Severa, the EP that came out last year, and they said that was sort of like something to put in between,
Yeah.
like, because Corona slowed down the production of the album,
That
so
was
they
a
released.
massive EP, definitely, and yeah, really looking forward to Dune as well. That was on my list, and thank you for the other entries as well because they were not on my list.
Yeah, totally. And then the last one I'll just mention, I'm very excited about Liquid Tension Experiment.
Oh yeah, true.
This is
Well, the first teaser was like very, very fast.
yeah. I mean, you mean fast as in tempo, or
Yes.
fast as in But I kind of expect that, if I think about the other two albums, and
yeah,
I mean,
it's definitely gonna
personally
make
excited
a
about the.
huge splash, and yeah.
As a fanboy, I'm certainly excited about the reunion of Petrucci, Portnoy, and Rudess. Like getting back together and making music together again. And Tony Levin's a good bass player.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get him for your show.
Yeah,
for your
maybe if he
new
wants to talk about Liquid
show.
Tension Experiment, that would be wow. That'd be
and King Crimson.
Yeah, of course. The first time I saw Tony Levin was on a King Crimson DVD back in like 1994.
It would be our third member of King Crimson on the show after Jack Schick and Gavin Harrison.
That's true.
And I have another one in mind that I want to interview in the upcoming weeks in February, so stay tuned for more very cool guests, as I said earlier in this episode already. And tying in with that, next week is gonna be the release of the new Soen album. And I can tell you now already, you can expect us to talk more about it, and maybe also with them, or you will hear also not only us or me talking about it, but also from them next week here on the podcast. I'm sure the new Soen album is gonna make big splashes in not only in the prog metal world, but also in the greater metal mainstream world, because they always had this appeal that they would not only appeal to a niche audience, to a niche audience only. Kind of connected to Soen are the Finnish Gentlemen of Wheel, coming out with their new album, in the second album, Resident Human, in March, at the end of March, which is gonna be interesting. They're in the same kind of vein. And ex-Soen guitarist Marcus Yedel, I think he's also working on new Avatarium stuff with his wife Jenny Ann Smith. Very cool doom rock there from Sweden. You just said Grease, and then I remembered that Verbal Delirium is also due with a new record. I believe there's something new coming. Their frontman Yargon released a very, very cool solo album last year. And then we have from I also mentioned them at the episode 100, of course, Danish Vola, Danish/Swedish. The first single is still an absolute banger, and I can't wait to hear the full thing or hear more of that. I want more of that. I need more of that.
I mean, if that one single is any reflection of the album, which I think it's hard to say that because they have a very varied sound, know. But already just the arrangement of that song was just like.
And it's their third album only, and I'm pretty sure it will end up at the very, very top of a lot of end of the year lists.
Absolutely.
I'm just moving through my list here quickly because I don't want to bore you, but I want to give those albums, those bands a shout out where I believe that there's something coming. German prog rock from Sylvan, one of the best German prog rock bands from Hamburg. Very, very beautiful stuff they have done in the past. They've been around for a while. New album is also due. From Israel's our friends of Subterranean Masquerade, their album Mountain Fever. I think we will get a release date now very very soon. And yeah, moving on to the United States. Jason Tipton, guitar player extraordinaire, has I think two different albums in the pipeline, in the making, from his new project, their new project, A Dying Planet, and
Yep.
also I think Paul Adrian Villarreal from Sun Caged already recorded his vocals for that. And also they want to get back Zero Hour back together with help, I think, with who was it? Andreas Blomqvist
Right.
from Seventh Wonder on bass, because
On
Troy
bass, yeah.
Tipton can't play bass anymore due to his
injury
in his arm. And
there was a great performance of theirs. I forget which festival that was part of, or they did the sort of live playthrough of one of the tracks off of Towers of Avarice. And I'm blanking on what the event was.
Did they? I missed that. So, wow.
Yeah, with the bassist, with the new bassist as well. It was like a split screen live performance.
Oh, I will have to search for that, because I mean Towers of Avarice is a legendary album, and I also saw them playing stuff from Towers of Avarice at Prog Power. My very first Prog Power Europe. 12 years
I'll send
ago
you the link. It was like so amazing to see them play.
Was it maybe Slay at Home from Metal Injection?
Maybe. You can continue on, and I can look it up in the meantime.
Yeah. What else do we have? Very, very, very soon, I think we'll get a release date for the Dark Horse White Horse self-titled debut EP, Marcella Bovio, and some amazing Dutch prog musicians. The crowdfunding of the EP is almost done. They already reached their target, and there's still 1 week to go for and if you still chip into the crowdfunding and they reach their second goal, they will do an orchestral version of one of the tracks of the EP. And if you want to know more about Dark Horse White Horse, check out episode 88, where I talked with Marcella.
Right.
Coming up very soon is the Frontal, the second album of Lebanese prog metal band Turbulence. It's coming on March. It's their label debut for Frontiers Music, but their second album, and it's amazing traditional melodic prog metal. Very, very cool stuff. Really excited for that one. And our friend Lucas De La Rosa mixed and mastered it. So I can guarantee you will know that the production will be spot on. And we already mentioned Tesseract earlier. I have another name there. The Tesseract are long overdue with a new album as well, but even longer overdue are Agent Fresco. We haven't heard from them for a long time, and I'm getting a little bit concerned. I'm hoping they are all right, and they're because they were already playing new songs on their tour with Leprous.
Leprous, yeah.
And that was the second Melina tour, so at least 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I hope we'll get to hear those songs in a studio version on an album very, very soon. True. Because
Arnold's been busy, family, baby.
Probably, but it would be their third album only as well, and with only 2 albums, they have made it pretty far already. Same as Vola, so that's really, really amazing.
So the Zero Hour performance was from the song "The Subterranean," and it was from the Sea of Tranquility Fest.
Oh, okay, yeah. Now I remember that I saw something about it, but I didn't see it. Didn't follow through.
Watch it. It's very cool.
Yeah. I have a couple of names still on my list. I'm gonna try to burn through them. From Germany, Accused Tag Hiphios. We don't have
Yeah,
a release date yet, but it's gonna be a very cool album. I'm sure they have, I think, 3 singles out already. It's acoustic prog metal.
yeah, it's a very cool band. Yeah.
Um, a side project from Vulcan guitarist that is called Solum, and his instrumental solo album from the project under the moniker of Solum is called Encountering Merc, and there's no release date yet, but the first single was super cool. Also, Johan Norbeck, the drummer from Vulcan, also plays in Diablo Swing Orchestra, and they also have a new album that they also, I think they already unveiled the cover artwork and tracklist maybe even. So there's more information hopefully imminent about release date and everything. Finishing off with a couple of records that I'm not sure if they will come out this year, but I think and I hope. We featured on our What's Hot a lot of times, like I think 3 or 4 singles at least from, I think they're also from Greece, God Plays Dice. And they also always said it's from their upcoming debut album, The Great Connoisseur. And it's killer modern prog metal again. Also with heavier, genty and growly parts, but also great fusiony influences and a killer production, and they're virtually unknown still. So I really looking forward to the full debut album from them. Then the second album from Others by No One, Book 2, is
All right.
We are expecting it to drop at one point this year. Soledad, a solo project. We talked a lot about that in 2019. The follow-up is in the making, and it's a full band now. It's not a solo project anymore, but Lola is, I think she has already recorded the bass and the drums with her new bass player and drummer, and we'll go to Normandy to work with Lucas De La Rosa on the rest of the production very soon, as soon as COVID restrictions will allow it. And also, from Lucas De La Rosa, Archetype debut album is hopefully gonna come this year. Last but not least, one of my favorite Swedish prog rock bands that haven't released anything since at least 10 years, I think. Let me check. 2012, yeah. Okay, that's 8 years or 9 years almost. Pathos. They reunited, I think, 2 years ago, and I think they're working on new music. And coincidentally, I'm wearing their shirt today, which you can't see, but they are very, very unique and amazing band. I'm really looking forward to new stuff of them. I'm sure we forgot a lot of stuff. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more.
One more I remembered was The Deer Hunter. It's another album I'm looking forward to. I think they're bringing out a new album this year.
Oh yeah, very good call. And that reminded me of The Hirsch Effect, their EP Gregare, of some also orchestral arrangements of their collapse songs will come out soon, I guess. They also did a very successful crowdfunding, and I was lucky to talk to them about it, and also the album Collapse when they did their social distance show in September here in Munich. The last concert I have seen, actually. So yeah,
I think my solo project will hopefully be out this year. I think first single in February, maybe.
Oh, yeah, very cool. Very good call. I'm really, really curious to hear what you've come up with. Looking at all these great expectations. That makes me really, really enthusiastic about the coming year, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be great. It's gonna be
absolutely.
awesome.
2021's got to be better than 2020.
Yes. Well, musically,
Awesome.
it's gonna be hard to top because
That's true.
I mean, 2020 musically was killer. There was so many amazing albums,
So many great surprises.
so many great surprises, and 10 of them we plugged in this show and our big centerpiece. That's it from us. We're closing in on 1 hour 20. I hope you enjoyed our nerding out, and yeah, I'm looking forward to my next guests in the next weeks. I hope you do so too. Randy,
Yep, and
thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah, absolutely. And tune in tomorrow, of course, for the start of the new season of Friday Top 5.
Yeah, and as we said at the very beginning of the episode, it's it's a lot of fun to have the releases of the week article and playlist where we can like give a shout out to all that we know about.
Yeah,
just to cover them all, and you can look what's up your alley and go through the playlist yourself. But it's also very a lot of fun to pick five of the best and bring them to you in this format.
I mean, we basically just curate the 5 that we like the most. So I mean, I think that's what you're getting.
All right.
Thank you, Dario. Appreciate having me on the show.
It was great fun. The the next Procast regular episode will be next Monday, of course. And tomorrow, the Friday Top 5, as we mentioned a couple of times. That's it from us for now. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and listen to great, surprising music.
The Progcast is a production of Stuus Media and is presented by the Prog Space. It is produced by Randy M. Salo, Janine Stengel-Lewis, Blake Lewis, and Dario Albrecht. Our theme music is by This Is Not an Elephant, and Van Kirsch does our graphics. New episodes of the Progcast drop every Monday and Thursday. And don't miss our Friday Top 5 episode where we discuss our favorite new releases from that week. For more interviews and reviews in the written form, check out theprogspace.com.